Let's not beat around the bush. What just came out of Buckingham Palace isn't a rumor, it's a bombshell. A royal-level shockwave that no one saw coming. According to senior sources close to the crown, there's now an official demand from within the palace walls for DNA testing of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet. Yes, DNA tests. Not tabloids, not gossip forums. A real request, initiated behind closed doors by the very people tasked with protecting the royal legacy. And before we dive any deeper into this unprecedented scandal, take a moment to subscribe. If you want the unfiltered truth behind palace doors, the kind of stories the mainstream won't touch, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and stay ahead of the headlines. Now, back to the firestorm. This DNA demand isn't about curiosity. It's not about science. It's about legacy, about bloodlines, titles, and the future of the British monarchy. For centuries, the crown has been built on strict lineage and undisputed legitimacy. And now, that foundation is being shaken by one question that should have never been asked at this level: are Archie and Lilibet truly Meghan and Harry's biological children? It sounds absurd, doesn't it? Almost like something from a royal soap opera. But this isn't fiction. The whispers have been around for years. People quietly questioning Meghan's pregnancies. Rumors of changing baby bumps, inconsistencies in appearance, behavior that defied what most would expect from someone in their third trimester. Stilettos, squatting effortlessly, belly shapes shifting within days. At first, it all seemed like nonsense. Even cruel, but those whispers never really died. They evolved. And now, with palace officials reportedly reviewing hospital records, video footage, timelines, and medical documentation, the whispers have turned into an explosive inquiry. So how did we even get here? To understand that, you have to go back to Meghan's first pregnancy with Archie. It was 2018. The world was watching. The narrative was perfect, a biracial American duchess bringing modernity and diversity into the royal family. It was historic, inspirational, emotional. But quietly, behind the cheers and public appearances, people noticed cracks. Some photos looked odd. A viral clip showed what seemed to be a bump folding like fabric. Social media began comparing pictures, frame by frame. Theories grew. But every time someone raised a question, they were shut down. Accused of being cruel, racist, or conspiratorial. The media refused to entertain the idea. And the palace? Silent, but silence doesn't erase suspicion. It buries it, until something big unearths it again, and that something has finally arrived. Insiders now claim that an internal review of Meghan's pregnancy was quietly conducted. Old videos, medical appointments, press releases, hospital records. Everything was put under a microscope. And what they reportedly found, or didn't find, is what ignited the palace's most shocking move yet: the demand for a DNA test, according to sources. There is no official hospital record showing Meghan delivered Archie under her legal name. None. No signed-off document from royal medical staff. No maternity ward file. For a royal birth, this is unheard of. Royal births are typically documented in exhaustive detail, doctors' statements, press briefings, even signed birth certificates reviewed by the crown. But in this case, nothing. And to be absolutely clear, using a surrogate is not a scandal. Not in the modern world. Many couples go that route for medical, emotional, or personal reasons. The issue isn't the method, it's the cover-up. If Meghan and Harry had simply said they were using a surrogate, the reaction would have been different. Perhaps even supportive, but what's being alleged now is something much darker: that Meghan faked a pregnancy, wore prosthetics, staged public appearances, and helped manufacture one of the most celebrated modern royal stories as fiction. If that's true, if that's what this DNA request is truly aiming to confirm, it's not just scandalous. It's a betrayal. A global manipulation of trust. And here's the thing, this isn't just about Meghan or Harry anymore. It's about what the monarchy represents. The British royal institution doesn't survive on trending hashtags or Netflix specials. It survives on tradition, on continuity, on blood. And when questions arise about the legitimacy of that bloodline, it shakes the entire institution to its core. King Charles, now firmly on the throne, is said to be furious. Not in public, of course, but quietly, decisively, behind palace walls. Reports suggest he's been tightening the reins, cutting off excess, removing titles, and quietly plotting the long-term vision of a slimmed-down, more secure monarchy. And Harry, once a key figure in that plan, has become the wild card that just won't settle. When the question of Archie and Lilibet's future roles came up, royal advisors allegedly took a hard look at their place in the line of succession. And that's where everything spiraled. Because if those children are to be given roles, titles, security, and royal duties, the institution demands certainty. That's why the palace reportedly re-examined the past. They looked again at the pregnancy timeline, at the hospital story, at the media appearances. They consulted physicians, compared footage, and allegedly, what they found raised more questions than it answered. Not only was there no hospital documentation, but there were gaps in the timeline, medical inconsistencies, contradictions, and then, the most damning revelation of all, reports that royal advisors had obtained confidential documents that suggest Meghan never gave birth to Archie at all. No hospital name. No birth records signed by royal doctors. No official maternity registration, just a void where certainty should have been, and that's when the narrative started to crack. Now, let's be honest. It's one thing for the public to speculate. It's something else entirely when the monarchy itself begins to question the legitimacy of its own lineage. The British royal family has survived wars, divorces, abdications, even public ridicule. But it has never faced a situation quite like this, a challenge to its bloodline from within its own walls, and once the palace opened that door, there was no turning back. Social media did what social media does best: dig, dissect, and drag. Old footage resurfaced. Meghan walking gracefully in heels during what was claimed to be the third trimester. Public appearances where the size and shape of her bump seemed to change from one day to the next. Slow-motion videos showing unusual movements. Memes comparing her bump to a folding pillow. A body double? A silicone suit? Even Hollywood prop rumors were thrown around, but underneath the jokes, the memes, and the online detectives was a rising wave of outrage. Because if Meghan's pregnancy was fabricated, even partially, that meant the public had been lied to. That millions of people around the world were sold a story, not a truth, and here's the hardest pill to swallow: that story worked. Meghan and Harry's image skyrocketed. They became the global face of modern royalty. They broke the mold, stood against outdated institutions, and earned widespread sympathy and applause. Their interviews went viral. Their book deals sold out. Their Netflix series reached millions. They cashed in on a story that people believed in, because it felt real. But what if it wasn't? What if the foundation of that story, the pregnancy, the birth, the fairy tale, was staged? That's where the outrage truly begins. Not in the act itself, but in the deception. Because faking a pregnancy for privacy is one thing. Faking it to build a global brand is another, and this brings us to Harry. He hasn't just supported Meghan through all this, he's been her fiercest defender. He cut ties with his family. He attacked the press. He accused the monarchy of cruelty and racism. He doubled down again and again, portraying their journey as one of oppression and bravery. But if he knew the truth, if he played along, lied, or even helped shape the narrative, the damage to his own credibility is irreversible. This isn't about a rebellious prince anymore. It's about whether one of Diana's sons helped orchestrate one of the most calculated public deceptions in royal history. Inside the palace, emotions are reportedly boiling over. Prince William, according to insiders, is beyond furious. Not just at the damage to the family name, but at the insult to the monarchy itself. He spent years preparing to lead a modern version of the crown, only to have his younger brother blow holes in the whole a princess and, never one to mince words, allegedly called the entire situation a disgrace. Cold, sharp, and brutally honest. And King Charles? Devastated. This was never how he envisioned his reign beginning. Instead of focusing on unity, continuity, and legacy, he's forced to confront chaos, division, and scandal. But more than anything, Charles understands something his son may have forgotten: the public's trust is everything. And once it's gone, there's no crown strong enough to replace it. But that's why this DNA demand exists. Not to shame Meghan. Not to punish Harry. But to protect the institution. To draw a line in the sand and say, enough is enough, and no more silence. No more curated interviews. No more controlling the narrative from afar, because here's the truth: the palace has already waited too long. Years have passed. Opportunities to clarify, to correct, to be transparent, all ignored. And now the monarchy is done waiting. The message is loud and clear: no DNA, no titles. No proof, no royal future. It's cold. It's harsh. But to the monarchy, it's necessary. They aren't protecting feelings, they're protecting centuries of history, tradition, and symbolism. And here's the brutal reality Meghan and Harry now face: every day they refuse to respond to the DNA request. Public perception shifts further against them. Silence no longer looks like dignity. It looks like guilt, and if they do comply, if they agree to the test, then one single result will either quiet the storm or detonate a constitutional crisis. If the DNA confirms Harry as the father, it might soften some of the criticism. The deception, if any, will still be damaging, but the children's place in the royal family might be secure. But if the results reveal even a hint of contradiction, then this scandal explodes. It becomes a crisis of royal identity. A succession mess. A nightmare no palace advisor is prepared to manage. The legitimacy of the crown will be called into question, not by outsiders, but by its own fractured family. And let's be clear, the stakes have never been higher. This isn't just about two children. It's about what they represent. Their bloodline, their heritage, their future roles. All of it tied to the truth of their birth. But that's why this story isn't going away. It's why the palace is pushing back harder than ever. Because the crown has survived everything, except this. This is the wound that came from inside. And here's the heartbreaking part: it didn't have to be this way. If Meghan had chosen honesty, if she had framed her journey around strength, choice, even medical difficulty, the public might have rallied around her. People are far more compassionate than they're given credit for, but instead, what we may be witnessing is the collapse of a story built on illusion. And now the palace isn't asking for clarification, they're demanding it. Point: one swab. One test. One truth, and however Meghan and Harry choose to respond, will define their legacy forever. As the world watches, and the pressure mounts, the question remains: will they come clean, or watch the gates of the monarchy close behind them for good? If you're still watching, you're part of the few who look beyond the headlines. So hit that like button, leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more hard truths the media won't touch. Because this royal drama is far from over, and we'll be right here to cover every twist.